We are looking at an impending disaster. Honestly, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I do want to give you the truth. One of the things I'm proud about on our channel is that I give you the truth and I respect our viewers and subscribers, so I know you can handle the truth. On your screen, you'll see a tweet from Jeff Stein over at the Washington Post. And Jeff is referring to an article in the Pittsburgh Post Gazette. Now, folks, unemployment benefits are subjected to federal income tax. The stimulus checks are not, which is ironic because the unemployment benefits tend to be a substantially larger amount than a one time stimulus check. The unemployment benefits are tens of thousands of dollars for some of our fellow Americans who have been on unemployment benefits, but it's safe to say that the amount of the unemployment benefits exceeds $1,200 or $600, and these benefits are subjected to federal income tax. Now, you'll see Jeff Stein again from the Washington Post mention that this is another impending disaster. Thousands of families who've been unemployed for months or more face a shock tax bill. Yep, you're required to pay federal income tax on these unemployment benefits. Now, the good news is there are certain lawmakers, I'm talking about Senator Dick Durbin and Representative Congresswoman Cindy Axon, who have introduced legislation to void the tax on unemployment benefits. But here's the news, folks. This is not included at this moment in the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. Could it be something that Congress takes up later, that Congress potentially takes up down the road? Yes, but unfortunately, it's not happening right now. And in many ways, folks, it's now or never with this massive $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. Here's the headline from the Pittsburgh Post Gazette on your screen. For those collecting unemployment benefits, tax day may come with a surprise expense they can't cover. Now, here's what you need to know as far as taxes are concerned. Let's take the stimulus checks on one side and unemployment benefits on the other. Stimulus checks are not subject to federal income tax. They are not. The unemployment benefits, on the other hand, are subject to federal income tax. In fact, some states go further and they actually tax the unemployment benefits. So, depending on the state in which you live, and if you're receiving unemployment benefits, you could be subjected to both federal income tax as well as state taxes. If you're living in a state like New York, for example, you are going to have to pay state tax on unemployment benefits. In fact, New York goes further and taxes remote workers who are residing in a different state but who are working in New York. In fact, New York taxed workers, healthcare workers who came to New York to help during the pandemic. Pennsylvania happens to be a state that does not tax unemployment benefits. So let's be clear once again. Stimulus checks, no federal income taxes. Unemployment benefits, you will pay federal income taxes, and depending on the state in which you live, you may pay state income taxes as well. Now, this article that I mentioned earlier was published in the Pittsburgh Post Gazette, and you'll get a link to the article in the description section below. According to the article, since the beginning of the pandemic, Pennsylvania has received more than 5 million unemployment claims, and Pennsylvania has paid out $36 billion in unemployment benefits since March. Now, if you're depending on unemployment benefits, you need that money to put food on the table, to make rent, to be able to make sure that you can keep the lights on, literally keep the lights on in some parts of the country that are experiencing major power shortages. Now, the first thing on your mind is going to be to try and fulfill your financial obligations with those unemployment benefits. According to a survey by Jackson Hewitt, 39% of those who were surveyed did not know that unemployment benefits were taxable, and the same percentage also said that they did not set aside money for taxes. They did not even have the state agency withhold money for income taxes. So imagine being in a position where you've lost your job, in some cases permanently, and you're on unemployment benefits, and now after you've spent all that money, you're expected to pay federal income taxes. And if you thought that was bad, we have certain states that are actually garnishing some portion of the unemployment benefits because they have accidentally overpaid unemployment benefits. Individuals are receiving letters in the mail asking for repayment of unemployment benefits because someone in the state agency made an error. It was not the error of the applicant, or I should say the customer. I believe if you're getting unemployment benefits, you're a customer of the state unemployment system because the state is supposed to come through for you and help you. But if the state made a mistake, the state can get you to repay back the money or garnish future unemployment benefits. This puts individuals in a very difficult situation because some of us have the double whammy on the one hand of being required to now pay federal income taxes, and on the other hand, maybe even having to repay some portion of your unemployment benefits. And according to data from the Census Bureau, more than 34 million people nationwide reported that it would be very difficult for them to pay their usual household expenses during the month of January. Pretty incredible. Now, let's take a look at Pennsylvania, since this is an article published in Pittsburgh. In Pennsylvania, 1 million people reported it would be difficult to keep up with expenses, while another 1.5 million people said it would be somewhat difficult. And here's something that makes the situation even more challenging. Let's say you are making $40,000 a year prior to the pandemic and you lost your job permanently. It's not like unemployment benefits are going to replace a majority or all of your wages. Let's say your wages were replaced at 50% and you're getting $20,000 in unemployment benefits. Let's say you're getting $1,600 a month. That equates to anywhere between $18,000 to $20,000 a year. In this example, you can barely pay your bills with that money. How are you going to set aside 10%, 20% towards federal income taxes and towards state taxes? You're simply not going to be able to do that. In fact, according to Elizabeth Pancotti, who's a policy director at Employ America, which is a public policy organization in Washington, D.C., even if you wanted to withhold, and you could have opted in, which by the way, most people did not do, you might not be able to take a 10% to 15% reduction in your benefits when they failed to even begin to replace all of the income that you lost when you lost your job. Now, the big question: can federal taxes on unemployment benefits actually be forgiven? Now, the good news is, in the past, the federal government has forgiven taxes on unemployment benefits. So in 2009, what the IRS did was they made the first $2,400 that an individual received in unemployment benefits exempt from tax. The first $2,400. So that was part of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act that was meant to provide some relief during the Great Recession of 2008. And folks, in the month of March 2008, during the Great Recession, 5.6 million people were receiving unemployment benefits. In 2020, almost 20 million people were on unemployment benefits in the second and third quarter of the year. Pretty incredible. And keep in mind, some federal lawmakers have tried to put similar actions in place during this crisis. Bernie Sanders, the independent from Vermont, there he is. What's up, Bernie? Has tried to make Congress forgive, if you will, taxes on unemployment benefits, but that has not become law. That has not gained traction right now. Also, Dick Durbin, who's a Democrat from Illinois, Senator Dick Durbin, and Congresswoman Cindy Axon, who's a Democrat from Iowa, introduced a bill to exempt the first $10,200 of unemployment benefit payments from income taxes. They've introduced the bill, but the bill hasn't really gone anywhere at the moment. And so Elizabeth Pancotti from Employ America has a question. As we approach April tax time, are individuals going to have to make a tough choice between paying the IRS or paying rent? Here's a comment from Pancotti. People will be forced to pay the IRS rather than pay the rent or for their food. The fundamental problem is, do we want people going hungry or going unhoused, meaning going homeless, or going without medication just to pay the IRS? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. If you learned something new, please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. And I can tell you that as soon as there is some piece of legislation, as soon as there's some traction in Congress to forgive taxes on unemployment benefits, I promise you, I will let you know. I've worked hard to earn your trust, and I won't let you down. I'll let you know as soon as something emerges from Congress. If you appreciate my effort, please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. I would appreciate that personally. Thank you so much for watching. I'm hopeful I'll have good news for you going forward, and I'll keep you posted. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.